Welcome back to another video. Today we are looking at a hardcore flame sorcerer. A lot of burning damage. Alright, let's get started. Let's jump right into it. Firebolt, pretty much the only choice right at the beginning. It's very, very good. Very good ability. Firebolt pierces through burning enemies. Firebolt generates mana when hitting a burning enemy. And if we go to gear and skills, you can ignore everything. This is like wouldn't it be great to have all this? But the enchantments, I wanted to show this. Flame Shield, which is a must for hardcore. You have to have it. And then Fireball, which is going to help us take down groups of enemies. That can also be changed for Firebolt enchantment. That's also very strong. Helps build burning up much, much quicker. If you're doing a boss fight, that probably wants to be Firebolt. Fireball will help your crowd clearing, if I can speak correctly. Fireball, 5 out of 5. Fireball's radius is increased based on distance up to 50%. Fireball does 10% of burning damage you've applied to enemies as additional direct damage. The other option, Fireball's explosion critical strike damage is increased by 10%. Each enemy it hits increases its bonus by 5% up to 25%. This is the better one, in my opinion, for this build. It's all burning related. Potent Warding, after casting a non-basic skill, you gain 2% resistance to all elements and 1% additional resistance to that skill's element for 3 seconds. Oh, by the way, shout out to Sai. This is Sai's build from my guild. I did take a really strong pass at it and change some stuff here and there and added more survivability to it. And he hated me for taking away some of his damage, but I had to do it because this is hardcore, right? We got to stay alive. But huge shout out to him. He made a really good build. Flame Shield. We know what it does, keeps us alive, makes us immune to damage, does some burning damage around us, increases our movement speed, and also heals us for 50% of our missing life. Ridiculously overpowered ability, which needs to be nerfed into the ground. That enchantment is ridiculous. If you die, it saves your life. It procs automatically, heals you up 50% of your health. It can happen once every 2 minutes. It saves your hardcore character. There is absolutely no reason not to take that. That's not an opinion. You must take that if you're playing a sorcerer in hardcore. Take it. There's no reason not to. Hydra, 5 out of 5. I'm summoning a lot of Hydras up in here. While healthy, your cast of Hydra gain 1 additional head. Hydras also burn enemies for an additional 12% of its base damage over 6 seconds. Very cool stuff. Along the elements, you gain 3% damage reduction against elites for each second you haven't taken damage up to 40%. Every time you spend 100 mana, you gain 15% damage reduction for 5 seconds. You don't have to max this. You don't. And the reason why you don't is because it still grows to the same maximum damage reduction. It just takes longer to do it. Hopefully you're not getting hit by elites often enough that you really do need to max it, but it does get to a higher level quicker. And when you're fighting bosses count as elites. All right? End dungeon bosses, world bosses, everything that says it works on elites works on those bosses. When you're fighting those bosses, you are likely to get hit more often than you will have this maxed out. So putting 3 points in it is good. End act bosses or end dungeon bosses, I'm thinking like the wolf boss, for instance, he's going to hit you more often than it would take to, it would take 40 seconds to build that up. Right? This would take, it would take 14 seconds to get the last tick. But at 13 seconds, you're at 39% damage reduction from its hit. So, it still takes time, and it's definitely good. It's good to have it maxed out if you can. You deal 3% increased damage for each active conjuration. Pyromancy skills deal 9% increased damage while you are healthy. You deal 30% increased critical strike damage against burning enemies. If they are immobilized, this bonus is increased to 75%. Firewall, max it out, baby. That's a big source of damage. Enemies take 25% burning damage, 25% increased burning damage while from you while standing in Firewall. Enemies continue burning for 3 seconds after leaving Firewall. The other option is the mana regen per active Firewall. Yeah, that one. It can help you clear crowds as well. Yeah, the looking at stream chat, by the way, I'm also streaming this as well. We'll get to that other thing, the root thing. We'll put that in search. But Inferno, summon a fiery serpent that continually constricts the target area, burning enemies for 295 damage over 8 seconds. Inferno repeatedly pulls enemies to its center, while Inferno's active pyromancy skill costs no mana. This scares me a little bit. I'm just wondering if it could potentially put you in a bad situation if things get pulled on top of you. That would suck. Another option is not going full damage on this and saying, I'm going to take Deep Freeze for survivability reasons. You could place down firewalls. Enemies might be ticking in the firewall, and then you use Deep Freeze to protect yourself while the enemies still take burn damage. Certainly an option. Certainly an option in the build. Killing a burning enemy. Oh, we don't want to search root. We want to search immob. There we go. Mobilize. So anyone that's immobilized will take additional damage for that. So that's pretty good. There are a couple of mobilization effects. We'll go over them after this. Killing a burning enemy increases your mana regen by 30%. You're going to have a whole ton of burning enemies, so that's going to be running almost all the time. You deal increased burning damage to enemies for each second they remain burning up to 15% after 5 seconds. Every 1 second, you heal for 0.9% of your maximum life for each nearby burning enemy. Healing is increased to 1.8% for bosses. I love seeing that Blizzard was smart enough to do a difference between normal enemies and bosses. That's really cool. Because obviously you're not going to have a huge pack usually when you're fighting a boss, so it's nice to see it increase its potency. And then your burning effects deal 2% increased damage per unique source of burning you have applied to the enemy. If the enemy is burning from 3 or more sources, this bonus is doubled. Pretty good, right? All right. Moving on to the Paragon tree. First thing we look at is stats. 24% life. Usually we get a little bit more in some of our hardcore builds, but you'll see why on this build it's different. We have crazy resist all, 60%, a very high fire resist, as it should be for a fire sorc, right? We do grab our life in the beginning, our life nodes. Huge, huge, huge. Gotta grab those. And there are life on both sides. Make sure you grab the life on both sides. And I say this in every one of my videos. If you are not taking the left and right side of your tree when you start, no matter what your class is, no matter what your build is, you are making a bad build. I see it all the time where they grab one side and they go. Don't do that. There's absolutely no reason not to take both sides. They're so close to each other, you're never going to find a group of nodes like this that's this close. And life nodes. Life nodes, you generally have to chase them. You have to go pretty far. 5 intelligence within range. Mastery skills increased by 3%. Mastery skills have 20% increased area. We need 40 intelligence. We get 10, 20. Keep in mind, these give 10 to your main stat. Also see a lot of people messing that up as well. They'll grab an additional 20 because they don't realize this is 10 and 10 here. That's 20 intelligence, 25, 30, 35, 40. So we're good there. We jet up into the Burning Instinct tree. We go here, we get damage to burning enemies, damage reduction from enemies that are burning, and we have the glyph for 2% increased damage for burning targets, 10% increased direct damage to burning enemies. That requires 25 dexterity. We have 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. We're good there. Jet up to the top left. Damage reduction from elites. That's huge. We like to not get killed by bosses. More damage to elites and burning enemies. Jet up to the top left. Damage reduction again from enemies that are burning. And the Burning Instinct node. Your burning damage is increased by 40% of your critical strike damage. Further increased by 5% for every 20 intelligence you have. Huge. That's actually a good legendary node. It's huge. Resist all. We jump into the Enchantment Master tree. We get our resist all. We grab a glyph. 2% increased burning damage. You deal 2.5% increased burning damage per nearby enemy, up to 12.5%. Non-physical damage, which is everything sorcerers do. Then we drop down to the bottom here and we grab some more life. We grab non-physical damage, a little bit of life here, and more non-physical damage nodes there. Moving on up into the Searing Heat tree. We get our fire resist, we grab another node. Paragon nodes within range gain 40% bonus to their fire damage and damage reduction modifiers. Every pyromancy skill you cast or every second you channel Incinerate increases your fire damage by 2% for 6 seconds up to 10%. A lot of pyromancy skills we're going to be using. Fire damage there. It's also going to be buffed again by this node. Bonus to fire damage. So that's going to affect that. Moving on up, we got more fire damage. We move up a little bit further. We get more damage reduction from enemies that are burning. Helps us stay alive. A little bit more fire resist. Resistance is always good. We drop into this tree, the Elemental Summoner, and we grab ourselves some more life. Some good life right there. 4%, 2%, 2%. Yes, we get maximum mana, but it's really about the life. We come up here to Conjuration. We got ourselves the Hydras, so that's good. More resist to all, and we have our final glyph here for every 5 intelligence within range. Conjuration skills gain 4% increased damage. Conjuration skills have 20% increased duration. That means our Hydras are going to last longer as well, so that is good. Now, real quick before we end this, Sai, what were you saying in this build that you swapped? I wanted to talk about that as well.
What? Oh, the conjuration, the 3% to conjuration. I took that out, and then I
3% to conjuration. Which one? Where? Which one are we talking about specifically?
Under the Hydra in the skills, and then I put it in the other.
This one here, the crippling flames. On the right for the chance to immobilize.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about this at some point. We were talking about this earlier, and I wanted to talk to Sai because this is, like I said, he made this build. We kind of talked about it for, I don't know, almost like 45 minutes or so we spent on it, kind of going back and forth. And we were talking about the immobilize. The immobilize effect is good. It's a lucky hit, but it can immobilize, and that's great for 2 reasons, right? It will keep enemies away from us. It'll keep enemies in our... Okay, more than 2. It'll keep enemies in our firewall longer. It'll keep enemies away from us and keep us alive. And then this. You deal 30% increased critical strike damage against burning enemies. If they are also immobilized, this bonus is increased to 75%. You will hit very hard against immobilized enemies. I personally think that's the way to go. Each active conjuration, yeah, it's nice. It's nice. I would go immobilize for the hardcore build, personally. I think that's great. And it's not even just hardcore. Even, I know you softcore too is always about the glass cannon, high damage. This still helps damage. I wanted to get Sai on here to let him talk about it because he is present at the moment. He was talking about it in the stream chat, so I said, let's bring the build creator into the video a little bit and have him talk just a little bit about it. Yeah, I think this is a great change. That's definitely something I would do in the end, and it's a pretty strong build. It's only weak point, I think, is it suffers a little bit in the max life, but the damage this build is going to do is going to be absolutely incredible. Probably some of the highest damage out there for any build for Sorc. I really think it's going to be hard. You'll be hard-pressed to increase the damage higher than what this currently is, unless you completely ignore your survivability nodes and you're playing softcore. Yeah, but it still would be like the same exact burning build. The damage would be absolutely incredible. It's got AoE clearing. It's got boss clearing. It's got a decent amount of survivability. You will see great success with this build. I think it's one of the better builds out there, and it gets my mushroom stamp of approval. So thanks so much for watching this video on this build. That's Sai's hardcore burning build, and it is a good one. It's a good one. If you have any questions, concerns, you do your fire build any different, let us know. Definitely want to hear in the comments. Definitely drop that down there, and we'll talk about it. Always like talking builds for Diablo 4. And tune into the stream. We're always doing this kind of stuff. Catch you in the next video.